Hi everybody. Before we start the story, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is. If you do that, YouTube will keep showing you more stories like this one. Okay, let's start now. The Jake brake screamed as my rig descended flat-top mountain, but the guardrail I just passed appeared ahead of me again. Same bent post, same faded yellow paint. I'd been driving downhill for 11 minutes straight, yet the mile marker kept resetting to 237. My name's Curtis Vaughn, and I'd been running loads through the Appalachian corridor for 16 years. I knew these mountains like the scar tissue on my knuckles. Interstate 77 through West Virginia was my weekly route, coal country, where the hills pressed in like broken teeth and the valleys held fog thick as cotton. March 19th, 2023. I should have been in Charleston by midnight. Instead, I was trapped in a loop that defied every law of physics I understood. The CB crackled. Breaker 1 to 9. This is Wolfpack. Anyone copy on the southbound 77 descent? I grabbed the handset. Relief flooding through me. Wolfpack. This is Mountain Man. I copy. You seeing anything strange on this grade? Silence. Then. Mountain Man. I passed you 6 times in the last 10 minutes. You're driving backwards. My hands went numb on the wheel. Say again? Your rig. It's facing south, moving south, but you're traveling north. Uphill. Against gravity. His voice cracked. How the hell are you doing that? I looked at my speedometer. 53 miles per hour. Descent angle showing -8% grade. The engine temperature was normal. Everything was normal except the reality outside my windshield, where that same guardrail defect kept appearing every 47 seconds, like a scratch in a broken record. Wolfpack, I'm coming down the mountain. I'm definitely descending. Negative, Mountain Man. I'm behind you right now, watching you climb. Your brake lights keep flashing, but you're accelerating upward. I checked my mirrors. Empty highway behind me. Empty highway ahead. The dashboard clock read 11:47 p.m., same as it had for the past 30 minutes. My logbook showed I'd traveled 63 miles in that span, but the GPS stubbornly insisted I was at mile marker 237. The road curved left. I'd memorized this curve. It wrapped around Beckley's eastern ridge with a scenic overlook where truckers sometimes parked to sleep. But when I rounded the bend, the same curve appeared again. Left turn, guardrail, bent post, mile marker 237. My coffee had gone cold. I'd bought it at the Pilot in Wytheville, Virginia, 90 miles back. That was real. The thermos was real, sitting in my cup holder with the Pilot logo facing me like an anchor to sanity. But the road had become something else entirely. Wolfpack, you still there? Static. Then breathing. Heavy breathing that didn't sound like it came from human lungs. Wolfpack, there's someone standing in your lane, the voice said. But it wasn't Wolfpack anymore. Too deep. Too wet. You've passed her 417 times. She's very patient. I slammed the brakes. The rig shuddered, air brakes hissing, 18 wheels grabbing asphalt. But the speedometer didn't change. 53 miles per hour. The brake pedal went to the floor with no resistance, just sank into empty space like pushing against fog. That's when I saw her. She stood exactly where the headlights cut through darkness, arms at her sides, wearing a white dress that hung on her frame like wet newspaper. Her hair covered her face completely, black and stringy, moving in a wind that didn't exist. She didn't move as the rig approached, didn't flinch. The distance closed, 40 yards, 30, 20, and I couldn't stop. The brake pedal was gone, disappeared into the floor somewhere below reality. 10 yards, 5. The rig passed through her, not around her, through her. I felt it a cold spike that pierced the cab, turned the air to ice, made my teeth ache and my vision double. She passed through the windshield, through the cabin, through me, and the sensation was drowning without water, choking on vacuum, feeling every cell in my body scream. Then she was gone. The CB crackled. You've been marked, the wet voice said. Count backwards from 237. The mile marker appeared again. 237. The numbers were climbing backwards as I drove forward, and with each marker that passed, the sky grew darker. Not night dark, absence dark. The stars were winking out one constellation at a time, like someone was throwing black paint across the universe. The air in the cab grew thin. I gasped, couldn't fill my lungs properly. My fingers started going numb. I looked down and saw frost forming on my knuckles. The radio stations vanished. I spun the dial, nothing but static on every frequency, and underneath the static, something counting. Numbers in reverse, whispered by 1,000 voices. I grabbed my phone. No signal. The screen showed the date as March 19th, but the year kept changing. 2023, 2022, 2018. Spinning backwards like the mile markers, the woman appeared again, but this time she was closer. Standing beside my driver's side window, keeping pace with the rig. 5 fingers, then 6, then 7. They multiplied like fractures in ice, spreading across the window in impossible geometry. I screamed. The sound came out backwards, sucked from my lungs instead of expelled. My logbook pages were blank. Not empty blank. Like I'd never written anything at all. My coffee vanished from the thermos. The pilot logo faded. "You're being erased," the CB said. "Mile by mile, memory by memory." I yanked the wheel hard right. The rig tilted, tires screaming, and I aimed for the guardrail. If I couldn't stop this descent, I'd end it another way. The rail approached fast, but then it wasn't there. The road was wider, empty, no guardrail to hit. Just endless asphalt, stretching into the consuming dark. My wedding ring felt loose. I looked down. My finger was thinner. Not just thin, younger. The calluses were fading. The age spots disappeared. My hands looked like they had 10 years ago. The tattoo on my forearm was gone, the one I'd gotten in Nashville after my daughter was born. I tried to remember her name and couldn't remember her face, just the absence where the memory should be, a hollow space that ached worse than any physical pain. The truck stop receipts in my glove box were disintegrating, turning to dust, becoming nothing. I grabbed the CB with shaking hands. "Somebody help me! Anyone on this channel, I'm trapped on 77, mile marker 228, and I'm being erased. Nobody can hear you," the wet voice responded. "You're already gone. We're just watching the echo." My CDL license was blank. No photo, no name, just a white card. The woman was inside the cab now, sitting in the passenger seat. Her hair still covered her face, but she turned toward me, and I could feel her gaze through the black curtain. She smelled like groundwater and stone and the deep places under mountains where nothing lives. "Why?" I managed to choke out. She reached toward me. Her hand passed through the gear shift, through the center console, through physical matter like it was suggestion rather than substance. Her fingers touched my chest, cold, so cold my heart stuttered. "Because you saw the door," she said. Her voice was my voice, played backwards and underwater. 3 months ago, March 19th. "You saw the gap in the mountain and you looked away. But looking away doesn't mean you didn't see," I remembered. "God help me," I remembered. 3 months ago, same route, different night. There'd been a flickering between mile markers 237 and 236, like a camera shutter opening and closing, a gap in the rock face where no gap should be. I'd glanced at it, just for a second, then focused back on the road. Professional driver. Eyes forward, ignore distractions. "You can't unsee the spaces between," she continued, "and the spaces notice when they've been perceived." My beard was gone. My face felt smooth, young, unfamiliar when I touched it. I couldn't remember my mother's name. My hometown was a blur of generic images. Could have been anywhere, could have been nowhere. The rig was changing too. The paint job fading. The company logo, what company? I couldn't remember who I drove for. The patches on my jacket were blank. The photographs taped to my dash showed empty frames. The woman leaned closer. Her hair parted slightly, and beneath it, I saw not a face but a surface like black water, rippling, reflecting things that weren't in the cab. I saw other trucks driving through her eyes, other drivers trapped in their own loops, counting down their own markers, being unmade mile by mile. "How many of us?" I whispered. 73. All who saw the door, all who ignored it. Ignorance is noticed. Acknowledgement is forgiven. You had one chance to stop and stare, to accept the gap as real. You chose comfort. My voice sounded different, higher, younger. I was regressing. I did the only thing I could think of. I stopped fighting the wheel and let the rig drift, closed my eyes, accepted the impossibility. I see the spaces between. I acknowledge the gap. I'm sorry, I looked away. The cab went silent. The engine noise faded. The rush of wind died. When I opened my eyes, I was parked at the scenic overlook at mile marker 236. The clock read 11:49 p.m. 2 minutes had passed. Only 2 minutes. My coffee was hot. My logbook was filled. My daughter's name was Sarah, but in my rearview mirror, I could see mile marker 237 behind me. And standing beside it, barely visible in the red glow of my taillights, were 73 figures in white, waiting, hoping for the next driver who would see the door and look away. I pulled back onto the highway and kept my eyes forward. But now I see the gaps everywhere, between the trees, between heartbeats, between the words on this page, and sometimes, late at night on empty mountain roads, I hear the CB crackle with that wet voice counting backwards from numbers I haven't reached yet. The door is always open. Most people just don't want to see it, but once you do, you can never fully close your eyes again. The girl's thumb was pointing the wrong direction, north, not south, but she was standing on the southbound shoulder of Route 19 through the Nantahala Gorge, and that wrongness made me slow down despite every rule I'd ever learned about picking up strangers. 22 years hauling freight through Appalachia taught me to trust my gut about what belonged and what didn't. A hitchhiker with her thumb backwards didn't belong, but neither did the way she stood perfectly still while rain hammered everything around her except her. The downpour created a perfect circle around her body, like she existed in a cylinder of dry air while the world drowned. I pulled the rig onto the shoulder. April 7th, 2023, 2:47 a.m. I logged it in my book, Old Habit, recording the decision that would fracture my understanding of reality. She was at my passenger door before I could reach over to unlock it. Didn't walk, just appeared. One moment standing on the shoulder, the next at the door, hand on the handle. She was young, 17, maybe 18, with dark hair plastered to her skull despite the dry circle, wearing a white t-shirt and jeans that looked decades out of style. 80s, maybe. The shirt had a band logo I didn't recognize. "Thank you for stopping," she said as she climbed in. Her voice was normal. Too normal. Like a recording of what a grateful hitchhiker should sound like, rather than an actual person speaking. "Where are you headed?" I asked, easing the rig back onto the road. The rain hadn't let up. It drummed against the windshield, like fingers trying to get in. "Same place as you." I glanced over. She was staring straight ahead, hands folded in her lap. Not damp, not humid, completely dry, despite the monsoon outside and the cylinder of dry air that had vanished the moment she entered the cab. "I'm going to Asheville," I said. "That work for you?" "It works perfectly." Something in the way she said, "perfectly," made my spine tighten. Too much emphasis, too much certainty. I checked my mirrors out of habit. The highway behind us was empty, just rain and darkness, and the red glow of my taillights reflecting off wet asphalt. "What's your name?" I asked. "What would you like it to be?" My hands tensed on the wheel. "That's not how names work." She turned to look at me then, and her eyes were wrong. Not the color brown, normal brown, but the way they didn't reflect light. My dashboard lights, the glow from the gauges, the flash of passing road signs. None of it reflected in her eyes. They absorbed everything, gave nothing back. "Names are agreements," she said. "Contracts between the named and the namer. I'm asking what you want to call me. I want to call you whatever your parents named you. They called me Borrowed." I almost laughed. Would have, if her expression had changed at all. But she kept staring with those light-absorbing eyes, face slack, waiting. That's not a name. It's what I am, borrowed from the mountain, on loan to the road, temporary in your reality. You'll want to slow down in 0.8 of a mile. There's a deer carcass in your lane. I checked the GPS. We were on a straight stretch, visibility good despite the rain. Because I've ridden this stretch 496 times, with 496 different drivers. You're number 497. The deer carcass appeared in my headlights exactly 0.8 of a mile later, fresh, steam rising from the torn open belly. I swerved around it, heart hammering. You'll see 17 more dead things before Asheville, she continued. 3 deer, 2 dogs, 1 fox, 8 possums, 1 raccoon, and 2 things that don't have names. Watch for the nameless ones especially. They're harder to avoid. Who are you? I told you, borrowed. From what? From the gap between the mountain and the sky. From the space where the rain doesn't fall and the road doesn't end. I'm a glitch in the journey, a skip in the recording. I'm what happens when someone opens a door they shouldn't and doesn't close it properly. My CB was dead. I'd noticed it earlier but hadn't thought much of it happened sometimes in the gorge with all the rock interference. But now I realized there was no static either, just absolute silence from the speaker, like the device had never worked at all. What do you want? I asked. To stay. Those 2 words dropped into the cab like stones into deep water. Heavy. Final. Stay where? In your life. In your reality. I'm tired of being borrowed. I want to be kept. I should have stopped the truck, should have told her to get out. But we were in the middle of the gorge, walls of stone rising on both sides, no shoulders wide enough to pull over safely, and something told me that stopping wouldn't matter, that she'd already made her decision, and I'd lost the choice the moment I pulled over. I don't understand what you're asking. Let me stay in your passenger seat. Permanently. Let me become part of your roots, your logs, your memories. Acknowledge me in every truck stop, introduce me to other drivers, tell stories about me, make me real through repetition and belief. You're already real. No. She shook her head slowly. I'm borrowed. Temporary. A story the mountain tells itself to pass the time. But stories can become real if enough people believe them. Tulpas, egregores, thought forms made flesh through collective agreement. The first nameless thing appeared in my headlights. She'd been right about it being hard to avoid. It was the size of a large dog but shaped wrong, angles that didn't connect properly, moving across the road in a stuttering motion like bad stop-motion animation. I swerved, felt the trailer fishtail slightly. What the hell was that? A mistake, she said. Something that tried to become real but didn't have enough belief to stabilize. It exists in fragments, pieces of possibility that never fully formed. That's what I'll become if you don't let me stay. A fragment. A mistake. Something that hitchhikers avoid because it points its thumb the wrong direction. My phone rang. Impossible, no signal in the gorge. But it rang anyway, my wife's face lighting up the screen. I answered. Frank? Her voice was distorted, stretched. Frank, who's in the truck with you? How did you... I can see her. In my dream. I'm dreaming about you right now, watching you drive, and there's someone in your passenger seat. Someone who's trying to make me forget you exist. I looked at Borrowed. She was smiling now, the first expression she'd shown. It was a terrible smile. Too wide. Too many teeth. She can feel me taking root, Borrowed said. Your wife is perceptive. The people you love are always the first to notice when you're being replaced. Replaced. I don't want to be a passenger, Frank. I want to be the driver. I want your life, your roots, your house, your wife, your daughter, your history. I want to retroactively insert myself into every memory you have until nobody remembers a version of you that didn't include me. The phone screamed. Not my wife's voice anymore, a frequency that made my inner ear feel like it was bleeding. I dropped it, watched it crack against the floor. Stop the truck, I said. Get out, now. You can't make me leave. You invited me in. You stopped when you saw me pointing the wrong way. That was consent. That was acknowledgement. That was the beginning of belief. The second nameless thing crawled up the side of my door. I saw it in my side mirror, a tangle of limbs and mouths and eyes that couldn't decide what shape it wanted to be. It pressed against the window, leaving smears that looked like oil and blood mixed together. Those are the ones who resisted, Borrowed said. Drivers who picked me up and refused to let me stay. They're stuck now, half real, living in mirrors and reflections. Would you like to join them? I did the math. 496 drivers before me. How many of those things were crawling on the road, caught between existence and void? What happens if I let you stay? You forget about me gradually. You'll introduce me to people as your sister, your cousin, your business partner. I become more solid. After a month, I'll be in your wedding photos. After 6 months, your daughter will have memories of me teaching her to ride a bike. After a year, I'll have always existed, and you'll have always known me. And what happens to me? Her smile widened. You'll be fine, mostly. There will be gaps, little absences, moments where you reach for a memory that's been replaced with something including me. You might forget your daughter's first word, because in the new timeline, I was there and you weren't. Small prices. That's not a small price. It's smaller than becoming like them. She gestured to the windshield, where 3 more nameless things were crawling across the glass. Their forms shifted constantly, trying on different shapes like clothes that didn't fit. One had my face for a moment, then my wife's, then something that had never been human. The GPS died. The dashboard lights flickered. The road ahead disappeared into pure darkness, not night, not shadow, but an absence of existence, like we were driving toward the edge of the world. Choose, Frank. Let me stay, or join the fragments. I thought about my daughter, Sarah, 6 years old. First word was moon, because I'd carried her outside during a midnight run to show her the full moon over the mountains. If I let Borrowed stay, would I remember that? Or would she have been there instead, holding Sarah, claiming that moment? No, I said. Borrowed's smile vanished. Excuse me? I said no. Get out of my truck. Get out of my reality. Go back to being Borrowed. I don't care what happens to me. I won't let you take my life. She lunged. Her hand shot out, fingers elongating, stretching across the cab toward my face. I felt them touch my cheek, cold as the void between stars, and her touch was forgetting. I could feel memories draining out through that contact point. My first kiss, my high school graduation, the taste of my grandmother's apple pie. I grabbed her wrist, solid, real, flesh and bone, and I said the only thing I could think of. I name you nothing. I name you void. I name you unmade. I revoke my belief. I deny your story. I unborrow you from the mountain, she screamed. It was the sound of something breaking on a fundamental level, reality cracking around the impossibility of her existence. Her form flickered, solid, transparent, like a light bulb dying. You can't unmake me. I can disbelieve you. And I do. I don't believe in you. I never believed in you. You were a hallucination, a trick of exhaustion and mountain roads. You never existed. The nameless things on my windshield screamed with her. They were dissolving, fragments of fragments, mistakes correcting themselves. The darkness ahead receded. The dashboard lights stabilized. The GPS flickered back to life. Borrowed looked at her hands. They were transparent now, fading. 497 chances, she whispered. 497 drivers. You're the first to say no. What happens to the others? The ones who let you stay? They're happy. I made them happy. I filled gaps in their lives they didn't know existed. I became the sister they never had, the friend they needed, the person who was always there. Is that so terrible? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe some of those drivers were better off with Borrowed in their lives, smoothing rough edges, filling lonely spaces. But they'd paid for it with memory, with truth, with the authentic shape of their own histories. "Goodbye," I said. She faded completely. The passenger seat was empty, dry, showing no sign anyone had ever sat there. The rain kept falling. Normal rain now, soaking everything equally. My phone rang. "Frank?" My wife's voice, normal, concerned. "You okay? You didn't check in at the Bryson City stop." "I'm fine. I love you. Tell Sarah I remember her first word." "What?" "Just tell her. I remember." The rest of the drive to Asheville was uneventful. No more dead things in the road. No more nameless fragments. No more girls pointing their thumbs the wrong way. But sometimes, late at night, I see her in truck stop parking lots. Still hitchhiking. Still pointing north while standing southbound. Still looking for driver, 498. And I wonder if I made the right choice. If being real is better than being happy. If memory is worth the loneliness it brings. I'll never know. But I know my daughter's first word was moon. And nobody borrowed that from me. That has to be enough. The sign said, "All trucks must stop," but the way station shouldn't have existed. I'd been running Interstate 64 through eastern Kentucky for 11 years, and there'd never been a way station between mile markers 172 and 173, just an abandoned rest area with boarded-up bathrooms and a parking lot full of broken glass. But there it was. New construction, green overhead sign lit up. The word "open" glowing in the pre-dawn darkness. May 2nd, 2023, 4:14 a.m. I had 43,000 pounds of auto parts in my trailer, well under the 80,000-pound limit, legal and logged. No reason to worry about a random way station. I guided the rig onto the off-ramp. The scale platform was standard concrete pad with embedded sensors, camera overhead, small building where DOT officers would check paperwork. One other truck was ahead of me, a refrigerated unit with Iowa plates. I watched it roll onto the scale, pause, then pull forward to the inspection area. My turn. I eased onto the platform, felt the familiar settling as the sensors calculated my weight. The digital display should have shown numbers within seconds. Instead, it showed a loading bar, then text, calculating total weight. Please remain stationary. Weird phrasing, but I waited. 30 seconds, 45. Vehicle weight, 61,240 pounds. Cargo weight, 43,000 pounds. Driver weight, 227 pounds. Calculating additional mass. Additional mass? I was a solo driver. No passengers. Just me and my cargo. The display flickered. Regret, 847 pounds. Guilt, 1,240 pounds. Unspoken words, 394 pounds. Measuring remaining burden, my hands went numb on the wheel. This wasn't a weight station. This was something else. Something wearing the shape of a weight station like a costume. The display continued. Missed opportunities, 672 pounds. Broken promises, 1,109 pounds. Unforgiven sins, 2,847 pounds. A speaker crackled to life. Driver, please proceed to Inspection Station 3 for offload assistance. Your total burden exceeds safe operational limits. I looked toward the inspection area. Station 3 was lit, a bay door open, revealing darkness inside deeper than any building should contain. The Iowa truck was gone. Not parked gone, like it had never existed. Negative, I said into my CB, though I didn't know if anyone was listening. I'm at legal weight. I'm pulling out. Driver, you are overweight by 7,109 pounds of unresolved emotional cargo. I put the rig in gear. The engine revved, but the truck didn't move. The scale had locked somehow, magnetic or mechanical. I couldn't tell. The wheels spun uselessly. A figure emerged from Station 3. Humanoid, wearing what looked like a DOT officer's uniform, but the proportions were wrong. Arms too long, neck too thin, head tilted at an angle that would have broken human vertebrae. It walked toward my truck with a gait that defied joint mechanics. The CB crackled again. "Driver, refusing inspection is a federal offense. Please comply, or we will extract the burden manually." "What the hell are you?" I shouted. "We are weight enforcement. We ensure no vehicle travels with more than it can safely carry. You are carrying 7,109 pounds of pain. It's crushing you. We can see the stress fractures in your soul." The figure reached my driver's door. Up close, I could see its face was a smooth surface like polished stone, featureless except for 2 indentations where eyes should be. It tapped on my window with fingers that had too many knuckles. "Please open the door, Driver Michaels. We have documentation of your burden. Would you like us to list the itemized weights?" "How do you know my name?" "We know everything that weighs you down. Daniel Michaels, age 44, married 17 years, 2 daughters. Carrying the weight of a lie told on August 7th, 1997. Carrying the guilt of a choice made on October 3rd, 2009. Carrying regret from missed birthdays, forgotten anniversaries, words said in anger and never apologized for." My throat closed. August 7th, 1997. I knew exactly what it was talking about. A night I'd buried so deep I sometimes convinced myself it never happened. "We don't judge," the figure continued. "We only measure and extract. You've been carrying this too long. It's affecting your load distribution, making you unstable on curves, causing you to drift across lanes when you think too much. We're here to help." "By doing what?" "Offloading your burden. You'll park in Station 3. We'll extract the weights. You'll leave lighter, unburdened, free." "And what happens to the weights you extract?" The figure's head tilted further, impossibly far. "They're recycled, ground down, fed back into the mountain. The Appalachians are built from the compressed burdens of 10,000 years of travelers. Every ridge is regret, every valley is loss. The mountains grow heavier as we extract, but they're strong. They can carry what you cannot." A second figure emerged from Station 3, then a third, all wearing the same wrong uniform, same featureless faces. They surrounded my truck, patient, waiting. The display updated. Loneliness, 441 pounds. Fear of failure, 883 pounds. Shame from childhood, 1,672 pounds. "Stop," I whispered. "Stop measuring me. We cannot stop. The scales don't lie. Your total burden is increasing as we measure. The act of acknowledgement adds weight. By the time we finish the full accounting, you'll be overweight by 8,000 pounds, maybe 9. You won't make it up the next grade with that much pain on board." The fourth figure was different. Smaller. It wore the shape of a little girl in a yellow dress. It stood at the edge of the scale platform, watching. "That's not fair," I said. "You can't use her." "We use what weighs you most, your daughter Rachel. Age 8. The birthday party you missed because of a late delivery. She waited until midnight, believing you'd come. You called at 12:47 a.m. to say you were sorry. She said it was okay, but it wasn't okay. That moment weighs 947 pounds. We can remove it, make it like it never happened. She'll forget she waited. You'll forget you disappointed her. No, you're carrying the weight of every moment you chose this road over them. 47,000 pounds of family time compressed into guilt. That's more than your cargo. You're hauling memory, Daniel, and it's crushing your chassis." The Rachel-shaped thing stepped closer. Its face was perfect, exactly how I remembered my daughter at 8. Bright eyes, gap-toothed smile. But its voice was wrong when it spoke. "Daddy, why do you carry me? I'm not a burden. I never blamed you. You're not her," I choked out. "No, but I'm shaped like what you fear you lost. Let us take this shape from you. Let us extract the weight of her disappointment so you can drive without the memory of her tears." I thought about driving away from that party. Rachel's face in my rearview mirror, standing in the driveway with her mother, holding a cake with 9 candles that would melt before I came home. I'd driven 12 hours straight, made the delivery early, earned a bonus. But I'd paid for it with her sadness. "If you remove that memory," I said slowly, "does she get it back? Does she remember the party differently?" The figures went silent. Then, The weight is extracted and compressed. It no longer exists in your timeline. She'll remember a party you attended. You'll remember attending. The sadness is erased. That's not real. That's not what happened. Does it matter? You'll both be happier. I looked at the display. Total emotional burden, 8,492 pounds. Exceeds safe limits by 8,492 pounds. Mandatory offload required. What happens if I refuse? You continue driving with unsafe weight. Eventually you'll collapse. The burden will crush you from inside. Heart attack, stroke. The mountain takes you anyway, but painfully. We offer a gentler extraction. The figures moved closer. I could hear them breathing now, a sound like wind through caves, hollow and vast. Their hands pressed against my truck, and I felt the weight of their attention like physical pressure. Last chance, Daniel. Let us take the pain. Drive away clean. I thought about Rachel. About my other daughter, Emily, age 14. About my wife, Maggie, who'd stood by me through 11 years of weekends alone, holidays cut short, phone calls from distant truck stops. I'd carried their disappointment. Yes, I'd carried my guilt. But I'd also carried their love, their understanding, their forgiveness. The weight you're measuring, I said, it's not just pain, it's connection. Every pound of guilt means I loved them enough to feel bad. Every ounce of regret means I cared enough to wish I'd done better. You want to remove my burden? You want to take the weight that proves I'm human? Humanity is overrated. Freedom is better. No, I put both hands on the wheel. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to care about. I'll keep my weight. All of it. Every fucking pound. The display went blank. Then red text appeared. Driver refuses extraction. Consequences acknowledged. Release denied. You don't understand, the lead figure said. We're not asking permission anymore. You're overweight. We're impounding your burden legally. The figures grabbed my door handles. The locks were irrelevant, they opened anyway. Physics bending around their intention. I felt hands on my arms, my chest, cold fingers reaching into my ribs like I was made of smoke, and they pulled. I felt it actual weight being extracted, guilt lifting like fog, regret peeling away in strips, the memory of Rachel's disappointed face growing dimmer, fuzzier, like an old photograph left in sunlight. They were stealing my pain, and with it, the context that made my life make sense. Stop, I screamed. You're taking too much. We're taking what's measured. The scales don't lie. But I realized something as they pulled. The scales didn't measure weight. They measured belief. They showed what I thought I deserved to carry. And I'd believed I deserved every pound because I'd spent 11 years convincing myself I was a bad father, a negligent husband, a man who'd chosen wrong. The scales lie, I said. I don't weigh that much. I refused the measurement. The extraction stopped. The figures froze. What did you say? I said the scales are wrong. I'm not carrying 8,000 pounds of burden. I'm carrying love, and that's light. That's buoyant. You measured wrong. The display flickered. Error. Recalculating. Love. Negative 12,473 pounds. Family bond. Negative 8,841 pounds. Forgiveness received. Negative 6,229 pounds. Negative weight. The figure's voice sounded confused. That's impossible. 7. No, it's balance. You measured only the heavy parts. You forgot to account for what lifts me. My daughter forgave me. My wife understands. I've carried guilt, but I've also been carried by their grace. The net weight is negative. I'm actually underweight. The scales say I need to take on more burden to be legal. The display went haywire, numbers spinning, recalculating. Error. Total soul weight, negative 4,847 pounds. Driver is dangerously light. May float away if unburdened further. The figures released me. They stepped back, confusion somehow visible despite their featureless faces. This has never happened before, one said. Maybe you've never weighed someone who's been forgiven, I replied. The scale released its magnetic lock. My wheels grabbed pavement. I put the rig in gear and pulled forward, away from that cursed platform, back toward the ramp. As I passed Station 3, I looked into the darkness. I saw them in there, the other drivers who'd agreed to extraction, sitting in trucks that would never move again, unburdened and empty, their faces slack with the absence of everything that had made them real. Free. Perfectly free. And perfectly hollow. I merged back onto I-64. The way station vanished from my mirrors. When I checked the GPS, mile markers 172 and 173 had no way station listed, just an abandoned rest area with boarded-up bathrooms. I called my wife when I got to Louisville, told her I loved her, called Rachel at school, told her I remembered her 9th birthday party, remembered missing it, remembered how she'd forgiven me anyway. She sounded confused. Of course she forgave me. Dad, why are you bringing up something from years ago? But she said it with love, and I felt that love subtract weight from my soul. I still run I-64 through Kentucky. I watch for that way station at night, wonder if it's still there, weighing other drivers, extracting their humanity pound by pound. I wonder how many have pulled into Station 3 and never left, and I carry my weight proudly now. Every pound of guilt, every ounce of regret. That's proof I'm still human. That's proof I'm still here. Channel 19 is trucker territory, always has been. But on September 11th, 2023, at 3:33 a.m., I picked up a frequency that shouldn't exist. Channel 19.5. Impossible. CB radios don't do half channels, can't receive frequencies between the standard 40, but there it was on my display, blinking between 19 and 20, a signal so strong it overrode my manual tuning. The voice came through clear as daylight. Breaker 1, 9.5. This is the dispatcher. Looking for driver Marcus Webb, hauling south on Route 23 through Letcher County. Marcus, you got your ears on. That was me. My name. My exact route. The highway was empty, just me. The mountains, and fog so thick my high beams barely cut 15 feet. I grabbed the mic. This is Marcus Webb. Who's calling? The dispatcher. I've got an urgent pickup for you, Marcus. Deviation from your current route. Exit 127. Turn east on County Road 844. You'll see the cargo waiting. Time-sensitive delivery. I don't take random pickups from unmarked channels. Who is this? Someone offering you $73,000 for 4 hours of work. Cash. Small cargo. 30 miles off route. Then back to your regular schedule. Interested? 73,000. Specific number, not rounded, not negotiable sounding, just stated as fact. I had $2,300 in my checking account and a mortgage payment due in 6 days. What's the cargo? Can't discuss specifics on open channels, but it's light, 200 pounds maximum. Fits in a standard cargo box, climate-controlled transport preferred but not required. You'll deliver it to coordinates I'll provide. Simple job, Marcus. Easy money. Every instinct screamed trap. But $73,000 was a year's income, and the voice sounded professional, calm, like a legitimate dispatcher coordinating loads. What company are you with? Independent contractor. Clients who need discretion. Exit 127 is in 6 miles. Clock's ticking. After 4 a.m., the offer expires and I move to the next driver. You want this, Marcus? Or should I find someone hungrier? I thought about my daughter's college fund. Empty. I thought about my wife's face when I told her we couldn't afford the surgery her mother needed. I thought about being 47 years old with nothing in savings and everything in debt. I'll take it, I said. Smart man. Exit 127. Turn east. County Road 844. You'll see a blue tarp covering the cargo. Load it yourself. I'll transmit delivery coordinates once you confirm pickup. And Marcus, don't look under the tarp until delivery. Part of the contract. You look, the money disappears. Understood? Understood. The CB went silent. I checked the frequency back to normal. Channel 19, no trace of the 19.5 signal. like it had never existed. But exit 127 appeared in my headlights right on schedule, a narrow ramp leading into woods so dense they looked solid. County Road 844 was barely paved. One lane, winding through trees that scraped my trailer. I almost turned back 3 times, but the promise of $73,000 kept my foot on the accelerator. 2 miles in, I saw it. A blue tarp beside the road, covering something roughly the size of a large footlocker. I parked, grabbed my flashlight, approached. The tarp was new, clean, water beading on its surface despite the humidity. I pulled it back just enough to see a black cargo box underneath, military grade, by the look of it, airtight seals, climate display showing 37 degrees Fahrenheit, locked with a digital keypad. I loaded it into my cab easier than expected, maybe 180 pounds, secured it in the sleeper berth, covered it back with the tarp. The CB crackled to life, channel 19.5 appearing again. Cargo confirmed. Excellent work, Marcus. Delivery coordinates: 36.87, 34 north, 82.28, 49 west. Input those into your GPS. You'll find a loading dock, unmanned. Leave the cargo inside. Lock the door. Drive away. Cash will be in your truck when you return to it. Payment on completion. I plugged in the coordinates. Middle of nowhere in Wise County, Virginia. Abandoned industrial area, according to the map. 28 miles from my current location. What's in the box? I asked. Curiosity is expensive, Marcus. Remember the contract. Deliver sealed. Get paid. Ask questions. Lose everything. I started driving. The road got worse: gravel, then dirt, then barely a path. My GPS insisted I was going the right direction, but everything looked wrong. Trees too tall, shadows too deep. The fog wasn't moving with the wind. It was pulsing, breathing, like a living thing. The cargo box started making sounds. Subtle at first, a hum, barely audible over the engine. Then a rhythmic tapping, then something that might have been breathing. I keyed the CB. Dispatcher, the cargo is making noise. No response. Channel 19.5 was gone, replaced by static. The tapping intensified, not random patterned. Morse code, maybe. I didn't know Morse, but I knew communication when I heard it. Something inside that box was trying to reach out. I pulled over, stared at the sleeper berth. The tarp had shifted slightly. I could see the corner of the cargo box, the climate display blinking. 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Below that, new text I hadn't noticed before. Biological sample. Keep refrigerated. Do not open. Just a sample, I told myself. Medical transport. Happens all the time. But medical samples don't tap in patterns. Don't make breathing sounds. Don't cause the temperature around them to drop until your breath fogs in the cab. The CB crackled. Not channel 19.5, a different voice. Younger. Panicked. If you're hearing this, you've been contracted by the dispatcher. Do not deliver the cargo. Repeat. Do not complete delivery. The payment is real, but the cost is your... Static swallowed the transmission. I spun the dial, trying to find that frequency again. Nothing but empty channels and white noise. The GPS showed I was 3 miles from the delivery point. The road had become a tunnel through trees so dense no moonlight penetrated. My headlights showed only 10 feet ahead, everything beyond that an impenetrable wall of black. The cargo box started shaking, violent tremors that I could feel through the cab. The climate display was flickering. 37 degrees Fahrenheit, 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature was dropping, despite the refrigeration unit supposedly maintaining it. Dispatcher, I need clarification on this cargo, I shouted into the CB. Channel 19.5 returned. You're almost there, Marcus. 2 miles. Don't stop now. Don't listen to interference. Other parties want this cargo. They'll say anything to prevent delivery. But you made a contract. $73,000. Think about your family. What's in the fucking box? A passenger. Someone who needs to reach their destination. Someone who's been trying to get there for a very long time. You're the 743rd driver we've contracted. The previous 742 failed. They opened the box. They abandoned the cargo. They refused delivery. 742 drivers. I thought about the voice on the CB warning me. One of them, probably. Someone who'd broken the contract and lived to regret it. The GPS said 1 mile. The loading dock appeared ahead, a concrete structure built into the hillside, half buried, covered in moss and rust. The bay door was open, revealing darkness so complete it hurt to look at. The cargo box stopped shaking. The breathing sounds ceased. But now I heard something else, a voice, muffled, coming from inside the box. "Please," it said. "Please, don't take me there." I slammed the brakes. The rig skidded to a stop 30 yards from the loading dock. I climbed into the sleeper berth, yanked the tarp off the cargo box, stared at the digital keypad. The voice came again, clearer. "He's lying about the payment. There's no money. Just another contract. He'll ask you to make another delivery, then another. Each one paying more. Each one taking you deeper into his roots. Until you can't find your way back. Who are you?" "I was a driver. Like you. I took the first contract 9 years ago. Delivered the cargo. Got paid. Then he called again. Different cargo. More money. I couldn't refuse. Now I'm the cargo, Marcus. I failed a delivery. Refused to take something to a place I knew was wrong. This is the penalty. Being delivered forever. Passed from truck to truck. Always in a box. Always in the dark." The CB crackled. The dispatcher's voice was colder now. "Marcus, you're violating the contract. Do not communicate with the cargo. Complete the delivery or face penalties." "What penalties?" "You'll find out. Everyone does eventually. Some resist longer than others, but everyone ends up in a box." I looked at the loading dock. In the darkness beyond the bay door, I saw movement. Figures, maybe. Waiting to receive whatever was in this box. "How do I break the contract?" I asked. The voice in the box answered, "You can't. Once you picked up the cargo, you accepted. Only 2 outcomes now. Deliver and become a contractor yourself, or refuse and become cargo. There has to be another way." "There is, but it requires you to lose something valuable." "What?" "Your way home." The GPS screen went black. Then it displayed new text. "Choose. Deliver cargo and receive $73,000. You will never find your way out of these mountains." I understood. The dispatcher wasn't trafficking goods. He was trafficking choice. Every contract was a decision point. Every delivery was a moral test. And every driver who took the money became part of the system, recruiting others, expanding the network. "If I refuse," I said slowly, "I get lost. Can't find home. Your GPS will never work correctly again," the voice in the box confirmed. "Maps will lie. Roads will move. You'll drive forever, looking for exits that don't exist, but you'll be free." I thought about my wife, my daughter, my house on Maple Street with the blue shutters. I thought about them never knowing what happened to me, waiting for me to come home from a route I'd never complete. Then I thought about $73,000, about delivering this box and walking away rich, about whatever happened to the person inside not being my problem. And I realized the dispatcher was right. I did need the money too badly. I was exactly the kind of desperate that made good contractors, but I wasn't that desperate yet. I opened the cargo box. The keypad protested, beeping warnings, but I forced the latch. Inside was a man, mid-40s, curled in fetal position, covered in condensation. His eyes opened when light hit him. "You're letting me out?" he whispered. "I'm refusing delivery." The CB exploded with sound. The dispatcher's voice multiplied, coming from every speaker in the cab. "Violation. Contract breached. Penalty assessed. Driver Marcus Webb, you are now off route. Permanently." My GPS died. The map on my phone dissolved into nonsense. The road behind me, the path I'd driven to get here, was gone. Not blocked, gone. Erased. Like it had never existed. The man climbed out of the box, shivering. "Thank you," he said. "I've been in there for 3 years, delivered 217 times. Never opened. You're the first. What happens now? Now we find the others, the ones who refused. We build new routes, paths the dispatcher doesn't control. It takes time, years, maybe. But eventually, you find your way to a different kind of home. Not the one you left, but one you earned through resistance. The loading dock was empty when I looked again. The figures gone, the darkness less absolute. My truck started without hesitation, but the GPS remained dead, the map useless. I still drive, through Appalachian mountains that shift when I'm not looking, on roads that appear at night and vanish by morning. I lost everything the dispatcher warned I'd lose, but I'm not cargo. I'm not a contractor. I'm off route, permanently, and somehow that feels like winning. Channel 19.5 still crackles sometimes. The dispatcher still calling, offering new contracts, bigger money, easier choices, and sometimes I hear other voices, drivers refusing, losing their routes, joining the off-map network of those who said no. We're building something in these lost spaces, roads that don't appear on any map, truck stops that exist between coordinates, a whole shadow highway system for drivers who refuse to deliver. One day, maybe, we'll find our way home, or build a home in the nowhere we've been exiled to. Either way, I'm free, lost but free, and that's worth more than $73,000, even if I'll never see my family again to tell them why I chose it. The manifest said 12,000 pounds, steel beams, 6-foot lengths, bound and secured. I'd verified the weight at the loading dock in Knoxville, 12,247 pounds exactly, well within my capacity. But by the time I hit the Virginia border on Interstate 81, my rig was struggling like I was hauling twice that weight. October 19th, 2023, 6:47 p.m., sunset over the Blue Ridge Mountains, shadows stretching across the highway like fingers. I'd felt the change gradually, the engine laboring harder on grades, the steering heavier in curves, the whole rig settling lower on its suspension, like an invisible hand was pressing down. I pulled into a rest area near Bristol, Tennessee, walked around the trailer, checked the tires. They were compressed, almost flat-looking, despite proper pressure. The suspension was bottomed out, shock absorbers compressed to their limits. The trailer axles were groaning under stress they shouldn't have been experiencing. I climbed onto the trailer bed, checked the cargo through the slats. Steel beams, same as what I'd loaded. Same count, same length. Nothing had shifted, nothing had been added. But the trailer was riding at least 5 inches lower than when I'd left Knoxville. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. The cargo gains weight when the sun goes down. 1,000 pounds per hour. By midnight, you'll be overweight by 17,000 pounds. Find somewhere to park, or the trailer will collapse. I called the number. Disconnected. I called my dispatcher. Steve, something's wrong with this load. The manifest says 12,000, but it's riding heavy, really heavy. You probably hit a way station and got flagged, right? Just pull into the next one. Get an official reading. There's no way station for another 60 miles. Then wait until there is. If you're overweight, they'll cite you and we'll deal with it. Otherwise, keep moving. You're burning daylight. I hung up, checked my watch. 7:03 p.m. If the text was accurate, I'd gained another 1,000 pounds in the last 16 minutes. 13,247 pounds total now. Still legal. But by 8 p.m., I'd be at 14,000. By 10 p.m., 16,000. By midnight, the phone buzzed again. Same number. Park. At the old Miller's Crossing truck stop. Mile marker 34 on Route 19. Abandon the cargo. Walk away. This is your only warning. Miller's Crossing. I knew it abandoned since the 90s. Burned out shell of a building. Parking lot full of potholes and weeds. No lights. No services. Not even a bathroom that worked. Another text. The cargo doesn't want to reach its destination. It's fighting you. The heavier it gets, the less you'll be able to move. By 1 a.m., you won't be able to drive at all. By 3 a.m., the weight will crush your axles. By sunrise, you'll be part of the cargo. I started the engine, pulled back onto I-81. The acceleration was sluggish, like pulling a house. The speedometer struggled to reach 45 miles per hour on flat ground. An upgrade appeared ahead, modest 6% grade, and I had to downshift to third to maintain 30 miles per hour. Trucks were passing me, their drivers staring, probably wondering what the hell I was hauling. 7:34 p.m. The sun was gone, just afterglow on the horizon. I felt the weight increase suddenly, dramatically. I checked the side mirrors and saw the trailer riding so low the mud flaps were scraping asphalt, throwing sparks. A third text. 14,247 pounds. Your rear axles are at 87% capacity. I took the next exit. Route 19, heading into mountains I didn't recognize. The GPS showed Miller's Crossing, 16 miles away. I could make it if the cargo didn't gain another ton before then, but every mile took longer, 35 miles per hour, then 30, then 25. The engine was redlining just to maintain momentum. 8:02 p.m. Another text. 15,247 pounds. Rear axles at 98% capacity. 3 miles to Miller's Crossing. You won't make it. The road climbed. A 7% grade through forest so dense the trees formed a tunnel. My speed dropped to 18 miles per hour. Then 15. The engine screamed. Temperature gauge climbing. The whole rig shuddering like an animal dying under impossible weight. 8:19 p.m. I crested the grade and saw it. Miller's Crossing. Exactly as abandoned as I remembered. Gravel parking lot. Burned out building. A single flickering streetlight that shouldn't have had power. And in the parking lot, 7 other trucks, all sitting low on their axles, all empty of drivers. I pulled in. The moment I stopped, the weight increased again. Sudden. Violent. I heard metal screeching as the suspension failed completely. The trailer dropped onto its axles, tires compressed to nothing. The whole rig tilted backward, cab lifting slightly off the front wheels. I jumped out, ran to the trailer, looked underneath. The axles were bent, bowed downward like horseshoes. The tires were flat despite being structurally intact, just crushed by sheer mass. A text. 16,247 pounds at 8:20 p.m. Abandon the cargo and walk to the road. Someone will pick you up. Leave everything. I climbed onto the trailer bed instead. I wasn't abandoning $12,000 worth of steel beams without understanding what the hell was happening. The cargo hadn't changed. Same beams, same straps, same count. But when I touched one, it felt wrong. Not cold like steel should be. Warm, body temperature. And it was vibrating, a frequency so low I felt it in my bones rather than heard it. I pulled back the tarp fully. The beams looked normal in the dim light, but their shadows were wrong. Shadows that moved independently, stretching and contracting like living things. And in the gaps between beams, I saw faces, pressed against metal, trapped inside. Dozens of faces, maybe hundreds, all screaming without sound. Jesus Christ, I whispered. A text. Not Christ. The opposite. The cargo is prisoners. Not people, souls. Bound in steel. Each one weighs approximately 70 pounds. At loading, they were dormant, but darkness wakes them. They remember weight, guilt, sin, the mass of everything they did wrong. And that metaphysical weight becomes physical. By midnight, you'll be hauling 29,000 pounds of concentrated human suffering. I stumbled backward, nearly fell off the trailer. The faces in the metal were clearer now, more defined. I recognized one, a woman I'd seen on the news 2 years ago, convicted of murdering her 3 children, dead in prison before trial. But here she was, compressed into steel, her face twisted in eternal anguish. Another face, a man I'd gone to high school with. Eric something. Died in a drunk driving accident in 2007. Killed a family of 4. His eyes met mine through the metal, pleading, desperate. Where the hell is this cargo going? I shouted into the empty parking lot. A voice answered. Not from my phone, from the burned-out building. A foundry. In West Virginia. They'll melt it down, purify it, release the souls into whatever comes after. But they have to arrive before sunrise, or the weight becomes permanent. The steel will be too heavy to move. Ever. It'll sit wherever it's parked, growing heavier every night, until it sinks into the earth under its own mass. I turned. A figure stood in the building's doorway. Tall, thin, wearing a trucker's jacket covered in patches from companies that didn't exist anymore. His face was shadowed, but his eyes reflected the streetlight like an animal's. Who are you? A previous driver. I tried to deliver this cargo 4 years ago. Made it 60 miles before the weight collapsed my trailer. Abandoned it on the side of Route 19. By morning, it had sunk 3 feet into the asphalt. By the next night, 6 feet. It's still there, if you know where to look. Buried under a stretch of highway they had to reroute. 247 souls, trapped forever in steel, adding their weight to the road. Why me? Why this load? Because you're capable. Strong spine, good record. The cargo is matched to drivers who can handle the truth without breaking. Weak drivers get weak cargo, drywall, plastic, foam. Strong drivers get steel. The foundry needs the steel. It's the only thing that can contain souls until they're ready for processing. 8:47 p.m. My phone buzzed. 17,247 pounds. The trailer cannot support additional weight. Structural failure imminent. How do I deliver it? I asked the figure. You don't. Not anymore. Look at your tires. They were shredded. Not just flat destroyed, torn apart by the weight. The rims were bent. The axles were cracked. My truck was finished. But there's another way, the figure continued. What vessel? He smiled. It was a terrible smile. You, I backed away. No, absolutely not. Not all of them, just enough to lighten the load. Maybe 30 souls. 2,000 pounds. Enough to make the cargo transportable again for another driver. You carry them in your body, your mind, your memory. Let them ride you instead of the steel. Eventually, they'll fade, burn through your consciousness like fuel. But it'll take months, maybe years. You'll feel their guilt, dream their crimes, experience their weight every moment of every day. That's insane. It's service, necessary service. The foundry pays well. $60,000 for delivered cargo, $5,000 per soul if a driver agrees to light over. You take 30, that's $150,000. Tax-free. Direct deposit before sunrise. I thought about my mortgage, my daughter's medical bills, the debt crushing my life like the weight crushing that trailer. $150,000 would erase it all. Free me. What happens if I refuse? The cargo stays, grows heavier. By tomorrow night, it'll weigh 47,000 pounds. By next week, 200,000. It'll crush this parking lot, sink into bedrock, create a gravitational anomaly that warps the highway. They'll have to condemn the area. Another driver's failure, adding to the mountain's weight. I climbed back onto the trailer, touched the steel. The faces pressed outward, trying to reach me. I felt their desperation like static electricity, raising the hair on my arms. How do I transfer them? Open yourself. Lower your defenses. Let them in. They'll flow from steel to flesh. You'll feel heavy, so heavy. But human weight is different from metaphysical weight. You can move. They can't. I closed my eyes, tried to quiet my mind, felt the metal warming under my palms, the vibration intensifying. The faces pushed harder, and I felt resistance give way, some barrier between me and them dissolving. Then they poured in. God, the weight, not physical, worse. I felt a woman's guilt as she drowned her children one by one, felt her hands holding them under bathwater, felt her mind fracturing as she watched them stop struggling. I felt a man's rage as he beat his father to death with a hammer, each blow echoing through my arms like I was swinging it. I felt a teenager's shame as they lit a fire that killed 17 people, felt the heat and heard the screaming. 30 souls, 30 lifetimes of horror, all compressed into my consciousness in under a minute. I collapsed, vomited. The weight in my mind was crushing, a pressure behind my eyes that felt like it would split my skull. But my body could move. I stood, shaking, tears streaming down my face. The steel beams looked lighter. Not visibly, but the trailer rose slightly on its suspension, the axles unbowing just enough to suggest the weight had decreased. "Transfer complete," the figure said. "Another driver will arrive in 20 minutes. They'll take the cargo the rest of the way. You're relieved of duty." "I can still feel them," I gasped. "They're screaming inside me. They'll quiet eventually. Most do. Some never stop. But that's the burden you accepted. Payment will clear by morning." He was right. The payment cleared. $150,000 deposited from an account labeled Foundry Services LLC. I paid off my debts, fixed my truck, took a month off to recover, but the souls never left. They're still here, riding me, adding their weight to every step I take. I dream their crimes nightly: murders, rapes, abuse, arson. I wake up crying, gasping, my mind filled with memories that aren't mine but feel more real than my own. And every night, I feel heavier, like they're not fading, like they're growing, multiplying, recruiting more guilt from my own life to add to their mass. I got a text last week from the same unknown number. "The cargo needs another transfer. You're at capacity. Report to Miller's Crossing by November 2nd, or the weight will become permanent. You'll collapse under your own mass, just like the trailer. I have 4 days. 4 days to decide if I drive back to that parking lot and transfer more souls, or if I refuse and let myself be crushed by the metaphysical weight of 30 murderers riding my consciousness. $150,000. That's what 30 souls cost. I'm starting to think it wasn't enough, but I'm also starting to suspect there's no amount of money that justifies carrying the weight of other people's sins. I'll let you know what I decide, if I can still move by the time the deadline arrives." The sign said, "Rest area 1 mile," and I desperately needed to stop. 18 hours on the road, bladder screaming, eyes burning from staring at white lines. November 4th, 2023, 11:43 p.m. Interstate 77 through West Virginia, somewhere between Charleston and Parkersburg, in that stretch where cell service dies and radio stations fade to static. The rest area appeared in my headlights exactly when promised. Standard setup: brick building with restrooms, picnic area, vending machines behind security glass, 4 other trucks parked in the commercial vehicle section, dark and silent, drivers sleeping. I pulled into a spot, killed the engine, and practically ran to the restroom. Clean. Too clean for a mountain rest stop at midnight. The floor was spotless, the mirrors gleaming, the automatic soap dispensers full. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead with a frequency that made my teeth ache. I finished, washed my hands, caught my reflection. I looked as exhausted as I felt, 42 years old, but carrying 50, dark circles, 3 days of stubble, eyes red from caffeine and desperation. I left the building, walked back toward my truck, stopped. It was gone, not stolen, gone. The parking space I'd occupied was empty, like I'd never parked there. But my footprints in the damp pavement led directly to the vacant spot, proof I hadn't imagined it. The other 4 trucks were still there, still dark, still silent. "Hey!" I shouted. "Anyone awake? Someone moved my fucking truck." No response. I ran to the nearest rig, a Peterbilt with Georgia plates, banged on the door. "Hey, wake up! I need help!" Nothing. I peered through the window. Empty. No driver. No bedding in the sleeper berth. Just an empty cab with keys in the ignition. Second truck. Same story. Empty. Keys present. Engine cold. Third truck. Fourth truck. All empty. All with keys. All abandoned in perfect parking formation, like they'd been staged. My phone had no signal. The vending machines were dark despite the building having power lights on, automatic doors working. The picnic area had fresh trash in the bins. Someone had been here recently, but everyone was gone. I checked the road. I-77 was 50 yards away, clearly visible. Cars passed occasionally, headlights cutting through darkness. Normal traffic, normal highway, but between me and the road was a waist-high metal barrier with a gate. The gate had a sign. Exit. Through building only. I tried the gate. Locked. Heavy chain with a padlock the size of my fist. I could climb it, but something about that felt wrong. Like breaking an unspoken rule. I went back to the building. Pushed through the entrance doors. The lobby looked the same. Clean, bright, sterile. But now I noticed things I'd missed before. A map of the rest area on the wall. Except the map showed facilities that didn't exist. A restaurant, a gas station, a motel. All labeled as coming soon since 1987. 36 years of coming soon. Another detail. The restroom doors had changed. Before, they were labeled men and women. Now they said arrivals and departures. I checked my mental state, exhausted. Yes, but not hallucinating. The words were real. The doors were different. I pushed open departures. It was the same restroom I'd used minutes earlier, but now all the stall doors were closed and locked, all 6 of them. With someone inside, I could see feet beneath the gaps, different shoes, different positions, but all perfectly still. Hello? I called. Anyone need help? The feet didn't move. Not an inch. Like statues. I knocked on the first stall. No response. The second, the third, all silent, all occupied by motionless people. I looked under the gap more carefully. The feet in the first stall were wearing boots I recognized. Work boots, Caterpillar brand. Same brand I wore. Same style, same wear pattern on the left heel where I dragged it. Same boots I was wearing right now. I looked down. I was wearing my boots, but so was the person in the stall. Identical boots, identical wear, occupying the same reality simultaneously. I backed out of the restroom, tried the exit doors. They opened to the parking lot, but it was different now. Foggy. The other trucks were gone. My truck was back, parked exactly where I'd left it. But it looked wrong. Older, rusted, tires flat, windows covered in grime like it had been sitting there for years. I ran to it. The door was unlocked. I climbed inside. The cab was rotted, seat covers decomposed, dashboard cracked and faded. My logbook was still in the passenger seat, but the pages were yellowed, brittle. The dates were wrong. Last entry, November 4th, 1987, 36 years ago. I climbed out, ran back toward the building. But it was changing. The exterior was aging rapidly, bricks crumbling, windows cracking, roof collapsing in slow motion. I watched a chunk of facade fall away, revealing framing that was already rotting, wood that had been decaying for decades, appearing as the outer layer peeled back. The highway was gone. Where I-77 should have been, there was only forest, dense, old growth, trees that would have taken a century to reach that size. A voice behind me. You're seeing it correctly. The rest area exists out of phase. 1,987 for some, 2,023 for you, 1,952 for others. All overlapping, all isolated. I spun. A man stood near the picnic area, middle-aged, wearing a trucker's jacket, face haggard. He looked familiar. After a moment, I realized why. He was one of the feet in the restroom stalls. Same boots, same jacket, but standing here, talking, while also being locked in the bathroom. What the hell is this place? I asked. A trap, a fold in time. You pull in for a rest, and the rest area doesn't let go. You become part of it, stretched across decades, occupying multiple moments simultaneously. There are 63 drivers here, stuck. Some arrived in the 50s, some in the 80s. You're the first from this decade. How do I leave? You don't. That's the trap. The exit goes to the highway, but the highway exists in the year you arrived. Your truck is here, but in 1987, broken down, waiting for a version of you that won't arrive for 36 years. Meanwhile, you're here in 2023, experiencing the rest area as it is now, and also in 1987, experiencing it as it was, and in all the years between. All at once, I felt dizzy. Time is flexible in places like this, thin spots where reality overlaps. Most people pass through without noticing, but if you stop, really stop, turn off your engine, leave your vehicle, you break the momentum, you become stationary, and stationary objects in temporal folds get stuck. How are you talking to me if you're stuck in the bathroom? I'm not in the bathroom. That's a different version of me. The version that arrived in 1994. I'm the version from 2003. We coexist, all my arrival points, all my moments of stopping, overlapping in the same space. By now, I have 19 versions of myself scattered through this rest area. I discover I just entered a different year. I looked at the building. Through the windows, I could see multiple versions of the lobby. In one window, it looked brand new, 1,980 seconds, decor, bright colors, full vending machines. In another, it was derelict, windows boarded, graffiti on the walls. In a third, it was just a concrete foundation, with no building at all, just the ghost of what would be constructed there. So I'm trapped, forever, unless you can leave in the same moment you arrived. Get back in your truck, start the engine, and drive out without stopping, without hesitating, without second-guessing. But here's the problem. Your truck exists in 1987. You exist in 2023. To leave, you have to synchronize, become the same temporal version. Align your moment of departure with your moment of arrival. How? Go back into the building. Find the departure's door. Choose a stall. Lock yourself inside. Wait until you feel the shift. You'll know it when it happens. Reality will lurch. Your perception will fragment. When that happens, run. Don't think. Don't look back. Just run to your truck and drive. If you time it right, you'll catch the moment when your arrival and departure align. The loop breaks. You escape. And if I don't time it right, you become another version. Another foot under a stall door. Another driver lost in the temporal fold. I've tried 17 times. Failed every time. Now I have 17 versions of myself here, all trying to escape, all failing at different moments. I looked at the building. The departure's door was visible through the window, glowing faintly. Around it, the air shimmered, heat wave distortion. Why help me? I asked. Why tell me this? Because if you escape, you might be able to do something I can't. Tell people. Warn them. Maybe get this place sealed off, demolished, erased. 63 drivers are stuck here across 7 decades. That's 63 families who think their loved ones are dead or missing. If you escape, you can tell the truth. Give them closure. Maybe save the next driver from pulling in. I walked toward the building. The man called after me. Remember, run when reality lurches. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. The window of alignment is less than 3 seconds. Miss it, and you're here permanently. I entered the building. The departure's restroom was ahead. The stalls were still locked, feet still visible beneath the doors. I chose the last stall furthest from the entrance. Locked myself inside. Sat on the closed toilet lid. Waited. Time moved strangely. Fast, then slow, then fast again. My watch spun forward, backward, stopped, started. I heard voices outside the stall, my own voice, repeating phrases I'd said earlier. Hey, anyone awake? Someone moved my fucking truck. Over and over, echoing across years. Then I felt it, the lurch. Reality fractured like glass cracking, and for one instant I existed in all years simultaneously. I saw myself entering the rest area in 2023. Saw a different version of myself entering in 1994. Saw another in 2007. All the same moment, stretched across decades. I ran, burst out of the stall. The restroom was shifting 1,980 seconds. Tile, modern tile, crumbling concrete, all flickering in rapid succession. I hit the lobby at full sprint. The exit doors were ahead, but they were changing glass, wood, steel, nothing. Glass again. I dove through, hit the pavement. My truck was there, my actual truck, looking correct, Tires inflated, paint unchipped. The engine was running. I hadn't left it running, but it was running now, and I didn't question it. I jumped in, slammed the door, threw it into gear. The gate was open. I didn't remember the gate being open, but it was, and I accelerated through it, tires squealing as I merged onto I-77. I drove 10 miles before I dared look in the rearview mirror. The rest area was there, receding, looking normal. Just a standard rest stop with a few parked trucks and a brick building. But as I watched, it flickered. For one frame, I saw it as it really was. A temporal wound, a knot in time. All 7 decades of its existence compressed into a single point. I saw 63 trucks parked in overlapping positions, occupying the same space in different years. I saw the building in all its iterations. New, old, ruined, unbuilt. Then it flickered back to normal. I called the state police when I got signal. Told them about the rest area, the abandoned trucks, the temporal anomaly. They said they'd send someone to check. I never heard back. I've driven past that rest stop 3 times since then. It always looks normal, open, inviting, clean, a safe place to rest. But I've never stopped, and I never will, because sometimes, late at night when I'm exhausted and desperate for a break, I feel the lurch. That same reality fracturing sensation I felt in the stall. And I realize part of me is still there, a version of me that didn't escape, that's locked in a bathroom stall, waiting for a moment of alignment that will never come. 63 drivers became 64. I'm just the lucky version that got away. But I'm starting to wonder, if part of me is still there, am I really free? Or am I just experiencing the timeline where I think I escaped, while other versions of me remain trapped? I'll never know for sure, and that uncertainty weighs more than any cargo I've ever hauled. She was standing on the shoulder of Route 460 near Grundy, Virginia, holding a cardboard sign that said, "Counting." Not hitchhiking, the sign wasn't asking for a ride. Just one word, counting. Her other hand was moving, fingers twitching, like she was tallying something invisible. December 1st, 2023, 7:12 p.m. Temperature dropping, snow starting to fall, visibility down to maybe 50 yards. I should have kept driving, but something about the way she stood perfectly still, except for that counting hand, made me pull over. Instinct. Stupid instinct that gets drivers killed. She opened the passenger door before I could lean over to unlock it, climbed in without asking. Mid-30s, dark hair pulled back, wearing a gray coat that looked expensive. No bags. Just that cardboard sign, which she placed carefully on the dashboard, word facing me. Counting. "Thanks for stopping," she said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "Where you headed?" "Same direction as you. I'll know when to get out." Red flags. Major red flags. But the snow was getting worse, and something about leaving her on the shoulder felt more dangerous than letting her ride. Sometimes you make stupid choices. Sometimes those choices follow you forever. I pulled back onto the highway. She sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead. No small talk, no explanation, just silence and the sound of snow hitting the windshield. After 5 minutes, she said, 7. I glanced over. "What?" 7. That's how many secrets you're carrying. The big ones. The ones that would destroy relationships if they came out. 7 exactly. My hands tensed on the wheel. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. October 15th, 2009. That's the first one. Your brother's wife. The weekend your brother was deployed. You told yourself it was loneliness, that it didn't mean anything. But you think about it constantly. Wonder if your nephew looks a little like you." My vision tunneled. That was buried. Deep. Locked in a place I never opened. March 3rd, 2012. You hit a dog on Route 52. Saw the collar. Knew it belonged to someone. Kept driving. Saw the missing dog posters the next week. Never said anything. The family never knew what happened. They still wonder. I pulled onto the shoulder, slammed the brakes. "Get out. Right now." She didn't move. June 27th, 2014. You falsified your logbook, drove 6 hours over your legal limit, made the delivery on time, got a bonus, but you were hallucinating from exhaustion. Doesn't matter that you didn't crash. Matters that you could have. Matters that you chose money over safety. How are you doing this? I'm counting. That's what I do. I count the secrets people carry, the weight of things unsaid. I'm currently at 3 out of 7. Would you like me to continue? No. Stop, please. August 9th, 2016. Your daughter asked if you were proud of her. You said yes, but you weren't. You thought she was lazy, settling for mediocrity. The lie created distance. She felt it, still feels it, wonders why her father doesn't really see her. I was crying. I didn't realize it until tears hit my hands. Why are you doing this? Because secrets have weight. You've been carrying these 7 your entire adult life. They're crushing you, creating back pain that's not physical, causing insomnia that's not medical. You're breaking under the mass of things you won't say out loud. I'm offering relief. What kind of relief? Confession. You tell me the last 3 secrets, the ones I haven't said yet. You speak them aloud, and I take the weight, absorb it, carry it for you. You walk away unburdened. And what do you get? I get heavier, but I'm built for it. I've been collecting secrets for 19 years, and I'll hold yours too, if you let me. I stared at her. She looked normal, not heavy, not crushed, just a woman in a gray coat, counting fingers still twitching. Why would you do that? Because someone has to. The world is drowning in unspoken truth, people carrying secrets that poison them from inside. I'm a receptacle, a sign eater for the modern age. You feed me your secrets, I swallow them, and you're free. What if I refuse? Then you keep carrying them, all 7, until they kill you. Secrets always kill eventually through stress, through self-destruction, through the constant energy it takes to maintain lies. Most people die younger than they should because they're crushed by things they never said. I thought about it, about the weight I carried, the way certain memories made me flinch, the way I avoided my brother at family gatherings, couldn't look him in the eye, the way I still scanned the road for that dog, even though it had been 11 years. The last 3, I said. What makes you think I'll tell you? Because you want to. Desperately. Your hands are shaking. Your breathing is rapid. Your body knows it's time to release the weight. You just need permission. I'm giving it. The snow was falling harder. The highway was disappearing into white. We were alone in a snow globe of confession. Number 5, I said slowly. I was driving through Tennessee. January 8th, 2018. I saw a girl on the side of the road. She was bleeding, looked hurt. But it was late and dark, and I convinced myself she was drunk, that stopping would complicate things. I drove past, found out later she'd been assaulted, left for dead. Survived, but barely. If I'd stopped, you think you could have saved her sooner, got her to a hospital faster, maybe prevented lasting damage. Yes, that's secret 5. Wait, 740 pounds of guilt. I'll take it. Continue. Number 6. My wife had a miscarriage in 2019. She was devastated, asked if I was sad. I said yes, but I was relieved. I didn't want another kid, didn't want the financial pressure. I felt guilty for being relieved, but the relief was stronger. I've never told her. Secret 6. Wait, 490 pounds of deception wrapped in grief. I'll take it. One more. I hesitated. The last one was the worst, the one I'd never said aloud, never even articulated fully in my own mind. Number 7, I whispered. My father died last year, lung cancer. I was his primary caretaker the last 6 months. It was hard, exhausting. I resented him for it. And one night, when he was sleeping, I stood in his room and thought about putting a pillow over his face, ending it. I didn't, obviously. But I thought about it for maybe 30 seconds, considered the logistics, how I'd explain it, and I still don't know if I'm a good person for not doing it, or a bad person for considering it. The truck was silent except for the heater and the snow. Secret 7, she said finally. Weight, 2,100 pounds, heaviest of all. Patricide contemplated but not committed. I'll take it. She reached over, put her hand on my chest. I felt something shift, like pressure releasing from inside my ribcage. The sensation of balloons deflating, tight muscles relaxing, a weight I didn't consciously feel suddenly absent. It's done, she said. She was right. I felt lighter, physically lighter. The back pain I'd had for years was gone. The tension in my shoulders vanished. I took a full breath for the first time and I couldn't remember when. How do you feel? She asked. Free. God, I feel free. Good, that's good. She picked up the cardboard sign from the dashboard, turned it over. On the back, in different handwriting, it said, "Payment due." What? The weight has to go somewhere, she said. I'm not a martyr. I don't carry secrets out of altruism. I'm a collector, and collections have value. What kind of value? I've been collecting for 19 years, 473 people, approximately 649,000 pounds of secrets. That much concentrated truth has power. It's currency in certain markets, markets that exist in spaces between morality and necessity. I don't understand. I sell them to people who need leverage, blackmailers, investigators, those who profit from knowing what others hide. Your 7 secrets are worth approximately $47,000 to the right buyers. I'll sell them by tomorrow. Your affair with your sister-in-law? That's worth $12,000 alone to someone who might want to control your brother. The dog? Less valuable. $300. But the contemplated patricide, that's $22,000. Premium confession. I grabbed her arm. You said you'd take the weight. You said I'd be free. You are free. I took the weight from you. Never said it would stay private. You wanted relief from carrying them. You have relief. What I do with the secrets afterward is my business. No, you can't sell those. Please. Too late. The transfer is complete. The moment you spoke them aloud with intent to release, they became mine. Legally, metaphysically. You can't take them back. I thought about my brother finding out. My wife, my daughter. The police reviewing my father's death with new suspicion. My entire life dismantled because I'd confessed in a truck to a stranger who claimed to be helping. This was a trap. This was a transaction. You wanted relief. I provided it. Payment is extracted afterward. That's how sign-eating works in the modern economy. The old sign-eaters didn't sell secrets. They took them to the grave. The old sign-eaters died young, crushed under the weight. I'm a survivor. I adapt. I monetize. And I'm very, very good at my job. She opened the door. Snow swirled into the cab. She stepped out, stood on the shoulder, turned back to look at me. Here's the interesting part, she said. You feel free right now, light, unburdened. But in a few days, when the buyers start using your secrets, you'll feel a different weight, the weight of consequences. And that weight is heavier than the secrets ever were. Because secrets are potential, consequences are kinetic. You've traded potential energy for kinetic destruction. How do I stop this? You can't. The sale is automatic, uploaded to the network the moment we part. By midnight tonight, 317 interested parties will have access to your confessions. Bids will close by morning. Your secrets will be in play by lunchtime. You're a monster. I'm a businesswoman, and you're not the first person to feel betrayed. But you are the first person this month who's made me enough to cover rent. So thank you. She walked into the snow. I watched her disappear into white, the cardboard sign tucked under her arm, counting on one side, payment due on the other. I sat there for an hour, maybe longer, trying to figure out how to warn my family, how to prepare for the exposure, how to explain that I'd confessed to a stranger who'd weaponized my honesty. I never saw the sale happen, but I felt it. 3 days later, my brother called, said he'd received an anonymous email, said we needed to talk. My wife found out a day after that, different email, same source. My daughter got a letter, so did the police in my father's town. Though they investigated, and found no evidence of foul play, just a suspicious son and a suspicious death that couldn't be proven. My family shattered. Not all at once. Slowly, cracks spreading over months. My brother won't speak to me. My wife filed for divorce. My daughter changed her last name. I'm persona non grata in my own life, all because I wanted to feel lighter. And the worst part? I do feel lighter. The physical relief never went away. I traded internal weight for external destruction, and I can't decide if that's better or worse. I still drive Route 460 sometimes, looking for her, for the woman with the sign. I want to ask if there's a way to buy the secrets back, to reverse the transaction, to reburden myself if it means protecting my family. But I never see her, just empty shoulders and falling snow. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she was ever there at all. If I confessed to no one. If I created my own destruction by speaking secrets aloud, manifesting consequences through the act of confession itself. Either way, the result is the same. I'm lighter, I'm ruined, and I can't decide which is worse. I joined the convoy at 2:17 a.m. on State Route 80 near Hazard, Kentucky, January 9th, 2023. 6 trucks running, formation me in the middle, 3 ahead, 2 behind. We'd coordinated through CB radio, standard practice for long hauls through dangerous mountain passes. Safety in numbers, company in the loneliness. We'd agreed to run together until Prestonsburg, then split toward our individual destinations. By 3:40 a.m., I realized we'd passed the same Waffle House 3 times. Not 3 identical Waffle Houses, the same one. Distinctive because of a broken W in the sign, it flickered Appalachian House in yellow neon. First time I passed it, I noticed. Second time, I was confused. Third time, I grabbed the CB. Breaker 1 to 9, this is Nighthawk. Anyone else seeing what I'm seeing? The lead driver responded. Depends. You seeing the same Waffle House on repeat? Affirmative. Then yeah, we're in a loop. Been trying different exits for the last 40 minutes. They all lead back to Route 80. Same stretch, same mile markers, same goddamn Waffle House. I checked my GPS. It showed us heading northeast, making progress. But the landmarks contradicted it. Same gas station, same curve, same bridge over the Cumberland River. We were driving in a circle approximately 11 miles in circumference, and no matter what we tried, we couldn't escape it. How long have you been looping? I asked. Since about 2:30 a.m. Tried 4 different exits. All returned us here. Tried turning around, driving the opposite direction. Same loop, just reversed. It's like the highway is a closed track. One of the rear drivers chimed in. My fuel gauge is dropping normal. I'm burning diesel, but I'm not actually getting anywhere. How is that possible? Distance without destination, someone said. We're traveling through space but not progressing through geography, moving without arriving. I tried my phone. No signal. GPS was nonsense, showing us in West Virginia, then Kentucky, then Tennessee. Coordinates shifting wildly, but the road remaining constant. Mile marker 47. Then 48. Then 49. Then back to 47. Counting up. Resetting. Counting again. The lead driver suggested we all pull over. Stop moving. See if the loop requires motion to sustain itself. We pulled onto the shoulder in formation. 6 trucks lined up like beads on a string. Engines idling. Flashers blinking in synchronized rhythm. The highway was empty, no other traffic, no cars, no movement except the falling snow. Okay, the lead said. Everyone stay put for 10 minutes. We'll see if... He didn't finish. Because the 6th truck, the one furthest back, started moving. Not driving, moving. Like it was on a conveyor belt. The driver wasn't in it. He was standing outside next to me, watching his own vehicle slide backward along the shoulder. What the hell? We all watched as the truck accelerated, still in park, engine idling, sliding smoothly along the shoulder like it was greased. It reached a curve, and instead of sliding off the road, it curved with it, following the highway's contour perfectly. Then it disappeared around the bend. My truck, the driver shouted. My fucking truck. We waited. 3 minutes later, His truck reappeared ahead of us, sliding from the opposite direction. It passed us on the shoulder, curved around the bend behind us, and vanished. The loop had taken it, made it part of the circuit. "Get back in your vehicles," the lead ordered. "If we stay stopped, we'll get absorbed. We have to keep driving. Maintain speed, maintain formation." We climbed back into our cabs. I noticed something as I did. The driverless truck had occupants now. 5 or 6 shadow figures sitting in the cab, barely visible, but definitely there. Passengers for a vehicle with no driver. We drove. Mile marker 47, 48, 49, then back to 47. The Waffle House appeared every 11.3 minutes. The gas station. The bridge. A billboard for a casino that had closed in 1994. All fixtures in our repeated loop. "Anyone know what this is?" I asked over the CB. "Time loop? Spatial anomaly?" "It's a trap," one of the rear drivers said. Her voice was shaking. "We're being herded. Something is making us drive in circles until we run out of fuel or patience. Then we stop. Then we become part of it." "Part of what?" "The permanent convoy. Look at the shoulder." I looked. At first, I saw nothing. Then, as we passed under a streetlight, I saw them. Dozens of trucks parked on the shoulder, maybe 100, stretching into the distance, all dark, all abandoned. Or not abandoned, occupied by shadow figures. Drivers who'd stopped, who'd been absorbed, who now rode their own vehicles in an endless circuit, going nowhere forever. "We're not the first," she continued. "This loop has been catching trucks for decades. Everyone who stops becomes part of the convoy. Everyone who runs out of fuel joins the shoulder. Eventually, the loop will have absorbed enough vehicles to create a permanent traffic jam of ghosts. How do we escape? We don't. That's the trap. No exits work. No reverse course works. We're in a closed system. Entropy will claim us eventually." The lead driver cut in. "There's always a solution. Closed systems have weaknesses. We just have to find it." "I've been looping for 47 minutes, the woman said. "You think I haven't tried everything? Maybe you haven't." Silence on the CB. "What if it's temporal? We're not driving in a circle through space, we're repeating the same 11 miles through time, passing the same Waffle House at 3:40 a.m. over and over, but it's the same 3:40 a.m. We haven't progressed forward in time. How does that help us? If it's temporal, we need to break the time lock. Change something about our passage that makes us inconsistent with the loop." "How?" I thought fast. "Everyone, next time we pass mile marker 47, accelerate, get out of formation, drive as fast as possible. If the loop is temporal and designed to keep us at a constant speed, breaking that speed might break the loop. Or it might kill us. We're already dying, just slower," the lead driver considered. "All right, agreed. Mile marker 47 coming up in 2 minutes. On my mark, everyone floor it. Break formation. Race to mile marker 49. We'll see what happens." We approached 47. I gripped the wheel. The CB crackled. I slammed the accelerator. The rig surged forward, engine roaring. The other trucks did the same, 60 tons of metal suddenly moving at 80 miles per hour through a tight mountain pass. Dangerous, insane, necessary. Mile marker 47 passed. The speedometer climbed. 85, 90. The road blurred. The Waffle House appeared ahead, but this time, we were approaching it faster than the loop expected. I saw it flicker, like a bad projection. The image stuttered. We hit 95 miles per hour. The other trucks were pulling ahead or falling behind, formation shattered. And the road changed. Mile marker 48 appeared, but it looked different. The number was slightly off-center. The paint was a different shade. This was a different 48. A real 48. A new 48. "It's working!" I shouted into the CB. "Keep going!" Mile marker 49, then 50, then 51. New numbers, real progress. The GPS stabilized Kentucky, Route 80, heading northeast. The shadows on the shoulder vanished. The abandoned trucks disappeared. The Waffle House was behind us. Just once, no longer repeating. We'd broken the loop. We drove in silence for 5 miles. Then the lead driver said, "Everyone all right?" Responses came back. 5 voices, including mine. 6 trucks, but only 5 voices. "Where's number 6?" I asked. "The truck that got absorbed?" No answer. I checked my mirrors. 5 trucks behind me. Not 6. The 6th, the one that had slid along the shoulder, was gone. Left behind in the loop, still driving in circles with its shadow passengers, unable to escape because it no longer had a driver with agency to break the pattern. "We lost one," the lead said quietly, "but 5 survived. That's the best we could do." We continued to Prestonsburg. Nobody spoke. The convoy dissolved as we reached our split points, each truck heading to its own destination, eager to be alone after the claustrophobia of the loop. But I still think about that 6th truck, about the driver who'd been standing outside when his vehicle was taken. Had he been absorbed too, pulled back into his own cab by the loop's gravity, or was he still standing on the shoulder at mile marker 47, watching trucks appear and disappear eternally, trapped outside his own vehicle in a prison of repetition? I've driven Route 80 since then. During the day, it's normal, but at night, sometimes I see convoys that don't behave right. Trucks driving in perfect formation, same speed, same spacing. And when I pass them, I glimpse the drivers, or what used to be drivers. Just shadows now. Hands on wheels they can't really hold. Eyes on roads they can't really see. The loop is still there, still catching trucks, still growing its permanent convoy of the absorbed. I escaped. 5 of us did, but we left someone behind. And I know statistically, eventually I'll be driving Route 80 at 2:17 a.m. and see a convoy I want to join. And when I do, I'll have to make a choice. Ignore the safety of numbers and drive alone, or join the convoy and risk becoming part of the circuit, driving in circles forever, watching the same Waffle House with its broken W pass by every 11.3 minutes until fuel or sanity runs out. Most nights, I think I'll drive alone, take my chances with loneliness and danger. But some nights, when the mountains feel too big and the darkness too complete, I understand why drivers join convoys despite the risk, because being trapped together is less terrifying than being free alone. And that's the real horror of the loop. Not that it catches you, but that part of you wants to be caught, wants the certainty of repetition, wants the company of other trapped souls. The loop is still there, growing, waiting, and I'm still driving, resisting, hoping tonight isn't the night I see that convoy and make the wrong choice. The Big Walker Mountain Tunnel on Interstate 77 is 4,229 feet long, 1 mile, according to the signs. I've driven through it 100 times, in and out in 90 seconds at highway speed. Simple, standard, unremarkable, until February 16th, 2023, when I entered at 4:47 a.m. and didn't exit for 47 minutes. The tunnel looked normal as I approached twin bores carved through the mountain, southbound and northbound separated. I was running empty after a delivery in Wytheville, heading home to North Carolina, exhausted but alert enough. The tunnel entrance swallowed my rig, and I settled in for the 90-second passage. 30 seconds in, I noticed the lights. The overhead fixtures were spaced evenly, creating a rhythm: light, shadow, light, shadow. But the rhythm was wrong. The intervals were stretching. Light, longer shadow, light, even longer shadow. The darkness between fixtures was expanding. 60 seconds in, I should have been seeing the exit. Daylight ahead, the tunnel's end, the return to open highway. Instead, I saw only more tunnel, more lights, more shadows. The curve that should have straightened was continuing, a gentle leftward arc that went on and on. 90 seconds, still no exit. I checked my speedometer, 65 miles per hour, steady. Distance traveled, should have been approximately 1.5 miles by now, but the tunnel was unending. Concrete walls rushing past, lights flashing in increasingly slower rhythm. I grabbed the CB. "Anyone copy? This is Mountain Man in the Big Walker Tunnel. Something's wrong. I can't find the exit. Static." Then a voice, distorted. How long have you been inside? 2 minutes, maybe 2.5. You're only at 2 minutes? Lucky. I've been in here for 19 days. My hands went numb. That's impossible. Distance is relative. Outside the tunnel, it's 4,229 feet. Inside, it's longer. How much longer depends on when you entered. Time of day, phase of moon, magnetic variance. The mountain decides how deep you go. This is insane. This is topology. The tunnel is a fold, bigger on the inside than the outside. Non-Euclidean space compressed into Appalachian stone. You entered a mile-long tunnel. You might be in here for a mile, or 100 miles, or 1,000. The exit exists. You'll reach it eventually. Question is, whether you have enough fuel. I checked my gauge. 3/4 of a tank. Maybe 300 miles of range. Become another voice on the CB warning future drivers. How many of us are in here? I asked. 12, currently. Spread out across the length. Some entered yesterday, some last week. One guy claims he's been in here since 2011. I don't believe him, but his voice sounds old, weathered. Like the tunnel aged him. I accelerated, pushed the rig to 75 miles per hour. The walls blurred. The lights became a continuous flicker. But the tunnel didn't end, just kept going, curving gently left, concrete unbroken. 5 minutes, then 10, then 15. The tunnel was impossible. I'd traveled at least 15 miles by now, but the walls showed no variation. Same concrete texture, same overhead lights, same gentle leftward curve. Like I was driving through a loop, but the curve never closed, just spiraled deeper into the mountain's interior. The voice on the CB said, "You're accelerating. Don't. It doesn't help. Speed is irrelevant inside. Only time matters." I slowed back to 65. What do? We drive. We wait. We hope we reach the exit before our fuel runs out. And if we don't, we park. Join the others on the shoulder. Become permanent residents. There are parked trucks in here, 47 of them, scattered along the length. Ran out of fuel. Drivers are still alive. Tunnel provides air, somehow. But they're stuck, living in their cabs, eating whatever supplies they had, waiting for rescue that never comes because nobody on the outside knows they're in here. From the outside, the tunnel is 1 mile. We're the only ones who know it's longer. I passed the first parked truck at the 20-minute mark. A freightliner with Ohio plates, dark, sitting on the shoulder with hazard lights dead. I slowed, peered into the cab. A man sat behind the wheel, staring forward, face gaunt. He didn't look at me as I passed, just stared at the endless tunnel ahead. Second truck at 25 minutes, third at 32. All dark, all occupied, all silent. How long have they been parked? I asked the CB voice. Varies. Some a few days, some a few years. Time moves strange in here. Outside, it might have been hours. Inside, it's been years for them. They've aged, starved slowly, but they don't die. The tunnel won't let them. It keeps them alive just enough to suffer. Why? What's the purpose? The mountain is old, older than the tunnel, older than the road. Carving through it was a wound. The tunnel is the mountain's revenge. It swallows travelers, keeps them, makes them part of its interior. Eventually, we'll all be parked here. 47 trucks will become 50, then 60, then 100, until the tunnel is completely lined with dead rigs and dying drivers, a memorial to the hubris of boring through ancient stone. I checked my fuel. Half a tank now. I'd been driving for 35 minutes, burning through diesel faster than I should have been. The gauge was dropping too quickly, like the tunnel was siphoning fuel as payment for passage. "The tunnel takes fuel," I said. "It's draining me faster than normal." "Toll," the voice confirmed. "The longer you're inside, the more it costs." Most drivers run out around the 45-minute mark. That's when they realize they're not exiting. When panic sets in, when they burn the last of their fuel, trying to accelerate out. Then they coast to a stop, and the tunnel keeps them. There has to be a way to escape. There is. Some drivers have. They're the ones who don't panic, who accept the tunnel's length, who drive calmly, conserve fuel, and wait for the exit to appear. It always appears eventually, but most people panic. Most people burn through their fuel, racing toward an exit that recedes as fast as they approach. You have to accept you're trapped. Paradoxically, acceptance is what frees you. I forced myself to breathe, slowed to 55 miles per hour, tried to calm my heart rate. The tunnel was infinite only if I believed it was infinite. If I accepted it as finite, it would become finite. Topology responding to perception. How long have you been in here? I asked the voice. 19 days, like I said, but I'm calm. I've conserved fuel. I'm down to a quarter tank, but I'm not panicking. The exit will come. I believe it will come, and belief shapes the tunnel's length. Where are you? How far ahead? I don't know. Distance is meaningless. I could be a mile ahead or 100. Your 47 minutes might be my 19 days. Time and space are decoupled. 40 minutes. My fuel gauge was at a quarter tank. The tunnel was unchanging, but I wasn't panicking. I kept driving, steady, accepting. The exit existed. I believed it existed. 45 minutes, eighth of a tank. I saw more parked trucks, dozens of them now, lining the shoulder like gravestones. The drivers watched me pass, faces hollow, eyes empty. They'd given up, stopped believing, become permanent. 47 minutes, warning light on, maybe 20 miles of fuel left. The tunnel curved ahead, same as it had for the entire journey. But something was different. The air felt thinner, the pressure in my ears shifted, and far ahead, impossibly far but definitely there, I saw light. Not overhead fixtures. Daylight. The exit. I didn't accelerate. Didn't burn the last of my fuel in a desperate sprint. I maintained 55 miles per hour, calm, conserving. The exit grew closer, slowly, inch by inch. The daylight brightened. The tunnel walls began to show weather damage, cracks, the imperfections of an actual physical structure rather than an infinite loop. At 49 minutes, I emerged. The exit swallowed me, and I was outside, blinking in the early morning sun. I-77 stretched ahead, normal. The tunnel was behind me, just a tunnel, 4,229 feet long. I pulled onto the shoulder a mile later, checked the GPS. 49 minutes had passed, but I'd only traveled 1 mile. The GPS agreed with the outside world. I'd spent 49 minutes going through a 1-mile tunnel. Mathematically impossible, but truthful. I called the state police, told them about the trapped drivers. They said they'd investigate. I waited at the next exit, watching for their response. 3 hours later, a state trooper called me back. Sir, we checked the tunnel, drove through both directions. No parked trucks, no stranded drivers, just a normal tunnel. Are you sure you saw what you claim? I'm sure. Well, there's nothing there now. Maybe you were hallucinating. Fatigue does that. Maybe I was. Maybe 47 minutes of exhaustion-induced delusion. But my fuel gauge was down to empty, despite only traveling 1 mile. I'd burned 3/4 of a tank going nowhere. That fuel went somewhere. Paid for something. Bought my passage through a tunnel that's longer inside than outside. I still drive I-77, still pass through Big Walker Mountain Tunnel, but never at 4:47 a.m., never when I'm tired, never when the mountain might decide to extend its interior and swallow me into its endless length, because I know the trapped drivers are still there, in a version of the tunnel I can't access during daylight, living in parked trucks, aging slowly, waiting for exits that never come, 47 of them when I passed through, maybe 60 now. Maybe 100. The mountain keeps them. The mountain keeps everyone who panics, who doesn't believe in exits, who burns their fuel, racing toward light that recedes. I escaped because I believed, because I accepted, because I didn't panic. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I really escaped, or if I'm still in there, driving endlessly, hallucinating an exit that never actually came. Maybe I ran out of fuel and parked. Maybe I'm sitting in my cab right now, staring at the endless tunnel, imagining a world outside where I successfully escaped and wrote this warning. Maybe you're reading the delusion of a trapped driver who's been parked in the Big Walker Mountain Tunnel for years, creating elaborate fantasies of escape to cope with the reality of permanent imprisonment. I'll never know for sure. None of us will. That's the real horror of the tunnel. Not that it's longer inside than outside, but that you can never prove you actually left. You just have to believe you did, and keep driving, and hope the world around you is real. Because if it's not, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. You're already trapped. You were always trapped. The tunnel never ends. It just makes you think it does. And that illusion of freedom is the only mercy the mountain offers.